Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the Judge Rotenberg Center, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center does not want you to read that article so much. They have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so read that article. Share it on all your social media. You're also going to see linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the Judge Rotenberg Center decides to see through with their threat. Trigger warning one, folks. If you are sorry. When we speak about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and utilize those headphones, all right? Number two, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and do speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised, all right? All right, so where we left off. In its comments on the proposed rule, JRC included the hearing transcripts and exhibits from a recent Massachusetts proceeding that considered the use of ESDs, in particular with the Judge Rotenberg Center's graduated electronic decelerator devices. Of course they did. The JRC's go-to whenever they are questioned is to paint the most horrific kind of picture humanly possible, turning us from being neurodivergent human beings into two-dimensional Disney villain monsters in order to get you to think, well, then any means necessary to get that uncontrollable monster under control is good. They do it every time, folks. They'll use the eye gouging until their eye was getting ready to leave their socket. They're going to use where they punch themselves in the face to the point that they dislocate their retinas. They're going to talk about how they chewed into their arms to the point that they gave themselves gangrene. What they're not going to tell you is no one at all advised the parents that send these kids to this hellhole get a full functional assessment done. Now, why is that important, Tiff, in the light of how severe a situation that you're mentioning now? Because Psych 101, folks, these behaviors do not come out of nowhere. I'm not going to start biting through my arm as though it's a piece of KFC chicken for no adequately explained reason. Okay? Usually, situations like that involve self harm can be a combination of things. However, it can be also very simple. A lot of that type of behavior coming out of my crowd has a lot to do with sensory issues. Okay? With the very clothes that you force us to wear because ABA tells you that you have to force us to do things we don't want to do instead of learning why we don't want to do them. Okay? instead of realizing that we do not function, see things, or feel things the same way that you do, permeates your brain until you understand how, for some of us, making us wear a wool sweater feels the equivalent of if you made us wear a coal vest that just literally got lifted off the grill all of 2 seconds ago. Just because it doesn't feel the same to you, if that doesn't get you at least some understanding, I don't know what will. Okay? But I digress from the point. The JRC pulls out worst case scenarios and paints as bleak a picture as humanly possible without giving you or me any form of context. They also leave out quite a bit, like the fact that the majority of the students that get stuck in their schools at no point in time had a full functional assessment done. The reasons why these full functional assessments are so beyond important is not just about education. It's not just about future goals. It's also getting into the heart of the issues by helping to determine what is causing these very disturbing, I'm not going to take away from it and call it anything else, from these disturbing behaviors. That's why they are fundamental. It should be your first step into any service program should begin with a full functional behavioral assessment being done. Period. Period, 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 period. Even as much importance as I put on to a full functional behavioral assessment being done, I don't think really brings home just how vital they are in regards to developing a service plan that's actually going to work. Okay? Because it's not just education, it's not just future goals, it goes into sensory issues, it goes to communication issues, it goes to a whole myriad of things that are going on at home as well as at school. That's what I mean when I say the JRC paints a bleak picture. They give you no context, they give you no history, and they absolutely leave out 100% if any prior work has been done. They will tell you that a kid has been expelled from school to school to school, but they'll never tell you if before all this, if a full functional behavioral assessment was done. Most people outside of this field do not know that that is step number one. And if you skip that step, then to me it makes perfect sense how you would go from school to school to school, because nobody knows what they're dealing with. I will provide you the context that they won't give you. But let's read on, shall we? Therefore, some expert testimony from these transcripts is discussed in the final rule to the extent the testimony is relevant to the risk or benefits of the ASDs for SIB or AB, or to the state-of-the-art treatment for this patient population. However, the issues in that state proceeding are different from the ones in the FDA's ban proceeding. The court's decision has no legal or scientific bearing on this ban. Thank you, Jesus. See, this is the reason why we went to the FDA in the first place, folks. Because we've tried going through the Massachusetts courts. We have tried going to their legislator over and over and over again for a fight that is almost 40 years old at this point, okay? That has caused the deaths of 6 students. We've gone through all the proper channels. I am glad that at least they seem to understand that while still not having the balls to mention the device in question. The reason why, even though they backpedaled and refused to name the device in question for which the ban is actually for, why I went over all of that is because these were the things that were being said at the FDA hearings, folks, from ARC, from Easter Seals, from all these service providers who have done things the correct way. Most states that are not Massachusetts, before they will even allow you entry into the service system, I know because I also had to go this same pathway in order for me or anybody else in any of the other 50 states to be able to get into the service system. It wasn't just diagnosis. A full functional assessment had to be done as a requirement to even qualify to get into the service system. This is how fundamental it is. This is why ARC and Easter Seals and all these other programs throughout the United States who stepped up with the rest of us, why their words carried so much weight. But in spite of the fact that we had some of the largest, most well-known and well-established service providers in the countries stand up, speak up, and stand out against the atrocities that are occurring at the JRC. The difference is they are non-for-profits in the more traditional sense. The ARC, for example, is a non-for-profit. They get a small amount of federal and state funding. The majority of what allows them to continue to provide services for us is the donations from across the country that they received in order to be able to continue to do so. The Judge Rotenberg Center is a privately funded entity, which means they don't have to jump through all the hoops and endure the bells and whistles that places like the ARC do. It gives them more freedom to do whatever the hell they want with their millions of dollars they get every year, with little to no supervision whatsoever. Okay? When you have that much freed up revenue to do with as you please, especially when you don't have to account for how it's being spent, you're looking at an entity that can spread cash to judges, legislators, people within our own federal government, things that entities like ARC wouldn't be able to do, which is why we're still having this conversation. We're going to close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you in a minute.